Welcome! In this series of videos, we will look at topics common to both the PowerBasic Console and Windows compilers. Today, we will look at date handling. In this series of videos, we'll be covering topics which are common to both the PowerBasic Windows compiler and the PowerBasic Console compiler. In order to do this, I've set up a small common library to allow us to display information on the screen from a program regardless of whether you're using the Windows or the Console compiler. There are three basic functions in this common display library. There's prep output, log, and wait. Today we're going to look at date handling. Now, you may spend a lot of your time in your applications handling dates of one sort or another. Now, PowerBasic does actually supply some really quite useful date functionality within the language. I've created a common library we can use to ease some of our date handling problems. If we have a look at our date functions, we'll see there are a number of functions in here to handle dates. Now, if we use the standard inbuilt function, which is date $, and we run this now, it will put the format out in the month, day, year format. This is a format native to PowerBasic. Now, some parts of the world, as in the UK, the format is generally day, month, year. So we'll find in our library a number of functions whose purpose is to turn the format out in UK format. So if we substitute that there, this function will turn the UK in its UK standard date format. As so. Now, there are many other different formats we can actually use. For example, returning it as a large number, as in year, month, day. This particular format is very useful when sorting records containing a date, as this appears as a standard number and can be sorted numerically. This is also a very easy function to use when you wish to decide whether a date is either bigger or smaller than another date. There are a number of other functions inbuilt to PowerBasic. For example, you can return the month name, passing the month number as a parameter. And you can also pass the day number and get back the day name. Now, what we're going to look at now is the inbuilt PowerTime class. If you declare a variable as iPowerTime, you can then go ahead and use this as a class. So, having set up this variable, we can now put a value into it. Now, this would put the current date and time into the date count variable. And we can create another variable to pick up the day number, as so. And this would pick up the day number of the current day we're in, being a number between 1 and 7. And you can then use that to get your day name. So if we run that now, we will see that it correctly output the fact that it's Sunday. However, you can go a little further than that. If we comment these two lines out, and we put in a simple statement, as in use the day of week string, if we run this, it will give you in one line the fact that it's actually Sunday. So if any of your code needs to specifically run on a particular day of the week, you can use this construct to determine which day we're currently running for. DateCalc now would pick up the current date and time. If you wish just to pick up the date, DateCalc today would pick up the date only. The rest of the code from what we're doing here would work quite fine. Now, having picked this up, there's a number of extra pieces of information you can glean from that variable. You can pick up the number of days in the month, which of course would return a number. So we'll use the format dollar to turn it back into a string so we can display it in our log. And there is the number of days in a month. So a very easy way to determine this in one line of code. And if we add a couple more, we could get the current date in a long format and a short format. You'll notice here that the short format that's come out is the UK format. That's because the PowerTime class actually uses the local settings on your machine to determine which part of the world you're in and sets the date format accordingly. So it saves you having to work it out. Now, having put this information into the DateCalc variable, we can now add days to it. We wanted to find out what the date was 21 days hence. We can add 21 days to the value that's in it, and we can then output the value we get back. And that would tell us 21 days from now would be the 5th of April 2020. If you wish to look back 21 days, you make the number minus. Now, as well as adding days, you can quite happily add months. And let's add 9 months to the value in there now. And there is the date advanced 21 days, and then 9 months added to it, pushing it forward to the 5th of January 2021. So what if you want to compare information in dates? Well, let's take all this and comment it out. And we'll prepare to handle a couple of brand new dates. So we're going to prepare two variables for two specific dates. Day 1 and day 2. Now, having prepared these variables, we now have to populate them. Now, we can populate the date in the day 1 variable by giving it the year, the month, and the day. And we can do exactly the same for the second variable. And in this case, we'll make it 2021, we'll make it February, and we'll make it the 21st. So now we have two dates. We want to tell the difference between these two dates if we prep three variables, one for years, one for months, one for days, and assign. There is a function we can use for long day 1 called dateDiff. And we're comparing what's in long day 1 with long day 2. And we want the output of this function to go into these variables. Long sign, long years, long months, and long days. Like so. So what it's doing is taking the information that's in the day 1 variable, comparing it with the day 2 variable, and the sign will either be positive or negative, depending if the date is before or after day 1's date. And the number of years, months, and days will be populated in these variables. So if we output that to a log, displaying the sign, the number of years, the number of months, and the number of days. So if we run that now, we will see in here our output to say it's -1, which means the day 1 date is before the day 2 date. The difference between the two is there's no years, 11 months, and 1 day. So if you just want to compare two dates to see if one's more recent than the other, the sign is all the information you need. If you need to know the number of years, months, and days they have apart, then those three variables will be populated for you. So this is a short introduction to the PowerTime class. You'll find it very useful in your code. This is part 1 of date handling. We'll handle more dates in the next video. But that's it for today. Thank you for watching.